The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus went out to the shore of the lake, and all the people came to him, and he taught them. As he was walking on, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting by the customs house, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. When Jesus was at dinner in his house, a number of tax collectors and sinners were also sitting at the table with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many of them among his followers. When the scribes of the Pharisee party saw him eating with sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard this, he said to them, "It is not the healthy who need the doctor, but the sick. I did not come to call the virtuous, but sinners." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So Mark begins his Gospel with a lot of healing. There is a series of healing: the healing of the mother-in-law, the healing of many people, and the healing of the person with leprosy, and the healing of the paralyzed that we had yesterday. But there's a connection from the time of the healing of the person with leprosy, the healing of the person who was paralyzed, and what is happening today, what we read today in the Gospel, that the person with leprosy received a physical healing. He was healed physically from his leprosy, and he recovered completely. And then yesterday we read about the healing of the paralytic person who received both forgiveness for his sins and also the physical healing. So it was like a bridge between the physical healing and the spiritual healing, which today we find in the gospel, that Jesus heals people spiritually, forgiving them from all their sins, making them to repent, metanoia, a change of attitude, a change of way of life. And this only happens when people accept to receive the grace that God is offering, not the grace that is given, the grace that is being offered by God. When something is offered, then you have to make an initiative to receive that which has been offered. And this is what the tax collectors and the sinners do today, starting with Levi, the son of Alphaeus. When Jesus offered him this grace and said, "Follow me," he followed immediately. And when it was at his house, then other sinners came, other tax collectors received that invitation, and they received the grace of God. And Jesus pronounces himself as, if you want, he says he's the physician. He pronounces himself as a physician, but in reality, he is the healer. He's the healer of soul. He's the healer of body. He's the healer of the whole person. And also on the other side, we find people who are offered this grace, but they do not want to receive it. We find today the Pharisees, the scribes of the Pharisees party. They have been offered the grace to receive the grace. They have been offered this grace, but they reject it because of their own way of life. There's something that they hold on to, the law of Moses. There's something that they hold on to that they do not want to let go. And this is what Jesus wants them to let go of, but they do not want that. And if you go back, this would be a narrow way of connecting this gospel with the first reading, where we find now Paul has been anointed, God yielding to human freedom, yielding to the demands of the people. Now, like I said in the gospel, that grace is being offered, and when we are offered something, we have the freedom to receive it or to reject it. Now, the people in the Old Testament, in the Israelites, who were offered the grace of God, God's protection, God's loving blessing, but they reject it. And they say, we want a king. We want a king for ourselves. That's what we heard yesterday in the gospel. They are demanding for a king. And Samuel tried to warn them and told them, no, please, God has been with you. He tried to remind them of all what God has done for them right from the time that he came to save them in Egypt. But they rejected that offer. And at times, I remember when I was a kid, I used to always like to be by the fireside and play around fire. And my mother would always warn me and tell me, this is fire. Remember, this is fire. But I always take it for granted until one day she cracked an egg which she wanted to fry. I was always fond of eggs, so. And then she threw the case inside the fire. And I wanted to eat a little bit of that egg that was inside, and I tried to put my finger in the fire, and I got burnt. She saw me doing that, but she let me to do that. Because when I eventually got burnt, she said "nto," which in my language, when you say "nto," means that is sweet, that is very nice. You got your lesson. So she said that. So it means that she was watching me put my hand in fire. And at times, she does that because she wants me to learn the lesson myself. Because if she keeps telling me, "Don't put your hand in fire; it's dangerous," I take it for granted. But experience taught me that this is fire and you should never play with that. And this is what God does to the people of Israel. They are demanding for a king, and he says, no, I will give them the king. And when they live with this king, when they go through what they have been through, they would learn to depend on me. And he gave them a king. And of course, we know the history that follows, that there was ups and downs, crazy things happening, God even allowing them, God being silent until the time of Jesus because of that disobedience of rejecting the grace that God offers us. My dear brothers and sisters, God still continues to offer us his forgiveness. He continues to offer us his mercy. He continues to offer us his grace. But we still have the freedom to reject that grace or to accept it. And the call for us, especially as we celebrate today the memorial of the Blessed Virgin Mary, that following our example of receiving and accepting the grace of God, that we will be able to say yes to receiving the grace that God freely offers to us.